but they peel.
What the hell?
Yeah, it always starts like when the seasons start to change, and then it goes away for a couple months, and then it comes back again.
Oh,
That's
okay.
You have dry
like, it's
skin,
not-
and you just told YouTube that.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. I don't know.
Ladies and
I don't know
gentlemen,
if
and
it's-
variations thereof, welcome to the Selectives Lorecast, a casual Elder Scrolls podcast. We're interrupting our Daedric casts because somebody in Discord, which you should join the Discord channel. It's in my channel description and probably not knowing me in the description for the YouTube video. Somebody in our Discord channel asked us to cover Mannimarco, and it occurred to me that we've never actually done that, so we're gonna do that.
It's a good time for it.
My name is Rotten Deadite, and with me today are...
I am James, also known as Aramithius.
I am Felix, also known as Banu Hanamasaishi.
I'm Jessa. You can call me Jess.
And I am Andrew, also known as the White Guar.
Jess is new today, so be nice to him. Or don't.
Be very nice to him.
And
Be very nice to him. He's my friend.
Mm-hmm.
The hazing will begin shortly.
There and now it just ended because we don't do any hazing.
No. Well,
I'm
except
sorry,
for
we
when
don't have
Felix,
anything to do.
except when Felix showed up with his crazy hair, and I told him to light it up.
Yeah. It was like, hey, let's spend the first minute of the stream roasting me. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
discussing
Good times.
the deer scat in my backyard and so on.
Yeah.
And on the subject of shit, yeah, let's.
That brings us to
Deer
worms,
pebbles.
and that brings us to the king of worms.
Exactly.
Yes.
Aha.
Professional segment.
Yes, Queen.
So, Mannimarco's known for being a necromancer. That's the easiest way to put it. He might be the most famous. In fact, I'm going to say he's the most famous necromancer in Tamriel because he's the only one whose name I can remember, and that's really saying something.
Yeah. Patama's up there, but man, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
He's been, let's see, he was a bad guy in Daggerfall. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Well,
he was,
Yeah.
he was definitely a bad guy in Oblivion.
Bad guy's a little simplistic, I think.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he's one of the guys that you can give the totem of Typer Septum to.
Yeah, which is
You
relevant.
can-
I'm sorry?
You can call him a very efficient antagonist.
Oh, yeah, all right. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Minimum effort, maximum output. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, because there's no actual. I think I say when it comes to the structure of Daggerfall, it's who you consider good and who you consider bad is pretty much down to you.
Yeah.
In terms of how you interpret that whole story.
Mhm.
So, and you only give the totem to the one who you think deserves it. So, Mannimarco's a good guy to someone out there,
Somebody.
possibly.
Yeah.
I'm looking at all the edgelords that I can remember from high school. You know, listening to Linkin Park and. I can see Mannimarco being their jam.
I don't know if I would have gone so far to call Mannimarco an edgelord or a goth until ESO, when he got a really proper character model.
He got like prep goth.
Yeah, he
okay,
did. He
so-
got real
He was pretty.
he was manscaped. Yeah, that was an attractive man. And it's which is good because frankly ESO expanded on quite a lot of characters that we knew almost nothing about before, or not nothing, but we knew very little about in comparison to what we now have coming out of ESO, which is just buckets. Mannimarco, I don't know, has ESO been out long enough for me to ruin the main plot? I think probably we
definitely.
could.
I
We're
Yeah.
talking
I
about
think
5
I
plus
think we're
years.
all allowed.
I mean, that's 6 years. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, like even I haven't played ESO and I know the ending. I know the plot, so
Yeah.
I think it's safe.
Yeah, he teams up with Molag Bal, and I wouldn't say he teams up. He works for Molag Bal because you don't team up with Molag Bal, you just get under him. And
That one.
yeah, and let's just say that worked out for Mannimarco exactly the way you think it would. And
what specifically he tried to screw over Molag Bal so that he could become so basically he wanted to take over Molag Bal's place in the mythic.
Yeah.
And it didn't work.
yeah, his genius plan was, if I recall correctly, let Molag Bal do all the work, or enable Mannimarco to do a whole lot of things, and then at the last minute, he'd swoop in and cut the legs out from underneath Molag Bal, which historically has never fucking happened, And so it's basically, you know, your bad guy, you know, super evil genius hubris cliche kind of you know, made manifest. Which is a shame because, to be honest with you, Mannimarco was a pretty good bad guy in ESO. I mean, he did, you know, he had some pretty damn good dialogue, and for the most part, it worked out pretty good. And I have said this before on this channel, that one scene, the last scene, where Mannimarco attempts to attempts to screw over Molag Bal, is also the same scene where Molag Bal basically lets you win by just not taking the thing that he needs to have, and instead grabbing Mannimarco and dragging him into Cold Harbor instead, which I'm still shaking my head about to this day. I can't believe that. I mean, ESO's writing quality is so damn good, and then that happened, and I went.
Well, I mean, I would chalk that up.
I have a possible theory on that one.
I'd love to hear it.
Because I think Mannimarco's jam isn't so much necromancy and so on as various methods of apotheosis. You read his thing in Where Were You When the Dragon Broke? And I think at that point, Mannimarco kind of understood what he was kind of had a goal for, that he saw it. And then the Selectives showed us the fundamental truth, as above, so below, and all those lines. And so I think what Mannimarco is trying to do is build himself a path to godhood, which we know he eventually gets to. But who else do we know who submitted to Molag Bal to get to know godhood?
All right, fair enough.
That's why, Chris, when you said Molag Bal, someone tries to undercut him and it's never fucking happened, I said, wait, no, once.
Well, all right. Here's why I would argue against Vivek being an example of success with Molag Bal.
All right.
The Mannimarco's plan was to start off being, like, you know, subservient to Molag Bal, and then suddenly rise above Molag Bal and replace him altogether and just absolutely screw the guy over and become obscenely powerful in the process. Vivek's plan was not to... Vivek's plan with laying with Molag Bal was a metaphysical need, not a power grab, you know? It was the expansion of her it wasn't the expansion, it was the reduction of herself for...
I'll need to interject there for a minute, because I've delved into Molag Bal quite a bit, and I've even wrote a little article on him on TS Law. All through the discussion just now, it seemed to me like everyone thinks that Molag Bal is passive. He lets things happen, and then just somehow, some way, things turn his way. It doesn't work like that. He is the prince of scheming. He's the prince of domination. He's the prince of plots, basically.
No, that's a different one, but I get you. I know where you're coming from. Yeah,
basically.
Sure, but both of them are called the Prince of Plots, Boethia and Molag Bal.
Exactly.
So it's just that Molag Bal is a man of more direct action than Boethia, you could say.
Exactly. So I would think that him being a schemer, I think that whatever Mannimarco was trying to do, he already knew where it was going and had incorporated his actions into his bigger picture plan. And there's also, I don't know if you agree to it or not, but there's also this, it's not really a theory because nobody has ever made it or given it that much of a weight, but Molag Bal might be a continuation of whomever was the ruling king of Lig and the previous Kalpa. As in, most people would say that Lig is rather linked to current Tamriel. I would say that stretches a little bit into the past and into the future. And in a way, Molag Bal of the past Kelper or Lig of the past Kelper would have been. I like to think the Raven King of Franzen. In a way, I don't know if anybody's following me.
Yeah, I'm getting there.
So in a way, if we are viewing Molag Bal as the simplistic prince who just reacts, I don't think he's that kind of a Daedric prince. I'd say he's very, very proactive in his scheming and his plotting and in his attempts at complete and utter domination.
Yeah.
And so all this to say, Mannimarco was just a chess piece for him. And in the end, you did say that you were a little bit, talking to Chris here, you did say that you were a little bit underwhelmed maybe by the ending of the plot of the story in ESO, how he just grabs Mannimarco and doesn't grab what he needs. What if he needed to grab Mannimarco? What if we assume he wanted the thing, but he's playing the long game?
Or if Mannimarco is the bigger threat in the moment.
Yeah, it could also be like a Starscream Megatron situation going on.
I hate Mannimarco more than I hate Tamriel at this point, so I'm gonna grab.
My thought is that Molag Bal is, I mean, he has to dominate, and he will always dominate in the most prevalent way at any given time. If you stick him in a room with somebody, he's going to dominate them. But the only time he won't do it is if he knows that he can dominate more people by not dominating this guy. Yeah. So, so when he sees Mannimarco slipping out from under his grasp, he goes, oh, really? You think you're gonna slip away like that? No, I don't think so, buddy. I'm gonna double up my efforts. I'm gonna dominate you some more. Because you're the one trying to undermine me right now.
That's an interesting take, but I'll reiterate and go back to the idea that Molag Bal wants to be the prince, as in all capitals, the prince, the king, the ruler of all. Mortals to him aren't really. I wouldn't think he would need to dominate mortals. They're just lunar currency.
Right.
He has his enemies, and he seeks to dominate those to become the one true ruler of everything. And
I think so, but I do want to put. I mean, now that we've completely spiraled out of control from Mannimarco and into a Molag Bal cast,
it's pretty linked.
It is linked, but I would like to say that the important thing to keep that I try to remember with Daedra is that they are they're still sticking around in Mundus or near Mundus because there's something about Tamriel that interests them. I agree that Molag Bal would like to be running the show, or I don't know necessarily if he'd be interested in like being completely in control of everything, but he would be completely in control of everyone. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Okay. So I think that that Molag Bal's interest in humans and the domination of humans in Tamriel is not just an interest in lunar currency and just gaining in souls and power and such, but I think he actually legitimately enjoys it. Even the smallest little bit of domination, I think he gets off on it, in the sort of fascination that Daedra have with humans. I think that's his fascination. I think he's fascinated with controlling humans.
That goes to the idea of torture or tortured souls or dominated souls or whatever you may call it, have more potency. This is sort of a theme in high fantasy.
The Dark Eldar approach. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, it explicitly
There's your
says
40K
that in a
box,
manual.
by the way.
it explicitly says tortured souls are the best souls to use for lichdom in one of the books.
Exactly.
Oh.
I mean, the ideal masters, if you agree to the idea that they were aliens, it's pretty much stated in ESO.
It does kind of that they're not from. What did they say? They didn't say that they're not from this Kalpa. They said, well, they definitely said they're not from Tamriel, but that's an easy gimme. I don't remember the phrase. Do you?
I don't remember exactly what it was, but it stipulated that they were aliens from some past period or the other that had very close ties to Deladil, the city that worshipped Molag Bal.
Oh, okay. Wait, hang on. Okay, so yeah, I'm remembering some other dope lore from ESO about alien cities that had Molag Bal as their patron and others that had Meridia
that's the one that I'm
their
talking
patron.
about.
Yeah, and it's not so much they came from a different Kalpa, but they came from a different space. It's kind of like they shifted
Adjacent
into
place almost.
another dimension.
But there's also the idea.
That's a Lig hint, but yeah.
Definitely it is, but there's not one adjacent place. There's plenty of.
That's
and
true.
the one that is fleshed out is Lig, because Michael Kirkbride did us the favor of fleshing out Lig. But here, the whole deal to try and go back towards Mannimarco bit by bit is that...
Thanks.
Sorry for derailing things.
Welcome to the
man,
cast.
you're bringing them back. That's the best part.
Yeah.
So the thing is that Molag Bal it will get more soul potency from the souls by the flesh gardens that we read about from those particular aliens who become the ideal masters. And then again, if you try and look at the course that Mannimarco took in a sort of chronologically linear manner, I mean, the events of ESO, they take precedence, right? So in ESO, he's this, let's say, juvenile, new illuminated mortal who's trying to become more, right? So he seeks lichdom, he seeks whoever is offering. And the thing about Molag Bal, he will offer you the world. He will give you whatever you want. I mean, there was mentioned earlier about Vivek and how Vivek tricked Molag Bal. I would say no. I would say that Molag Bal needed Vivek to become permanent in the wheel, as in Molag Bal wasn't, but that's a completely different subject, and we will derail again. So he will if sought by Mannimarco, he will answer, knowing that Mannimarco will attempt to mantle him or overthrow him or replace him. But then again, who's the enemy for Molag Bal? It's Arche. His very first action in the current or the prime timeline would say is spit in the face of Arche by creating Lame Bayafung.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the enemy of Mannimarco?
Arche again.
Arche the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
So enemy of my enemy, temporary friend. And then you see what he does during the interregnum and the Three Banners Wars. He's sending him souls by truckloads. I mean, the guy is sacrificing everybody to Molag Bal. And you'd think that someone who's illuminated would know that he's reinforcing Molag Bal. He's not really undermining him here. But he doesn't know, because he did not reach that level of let's say, royal knowledge in a way.
There's also some hints that he's kind of skimming a bit out of the middle of it, if I remember rightly. There's one of the is it the Azure Plasma, the one that talks about the player's soul gem? That there's obviously some process of evaluating the soul shriven that's going on, that the worm cult is doing, and exercising some degree of control and managing the soul shriven, which makes me think that that Mannimarco was also using them for something, for personal gain or experimentation or something.
Oh, this was in ESO. They were doing this.
Yes. I think now I think about it, is it the book on Soul Shriven?
It might be.
I'm
I
not
don't know.
sure.
I don't remember.
I'll dig it up while someone else is going on, because
The ESO, man, sometimes it's I mean, it's almost always the best thing to happen to lore, but sometimes it's the worst because God, there's so much.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. you can't read it all, and you can't have an opinion on it all. So the events of ESO and the main quest pertaining to Mannimarco, the end, I like to think that Molag Bal just played the pieces the way he wanted to get the amount of souls he wanted, and then just as soon as the piece was no longer potent, he sort of overstepped. Mannimarco sort of overstepped, and this was already planned by Molag Bal. He just grabbed him and put him to torture, or through torture.
Mm-hmm.
Why would he just put him through torture when he could just snuff him out and turn him into what do you call it? Souls.
Because he's Molag Bal, and it's more entertaining.
Yeah, I know, but he could just simply end him right there, right then and there, and not suffer his ego ever again. He could completely break his ego, and
to do that would be to take away the possibility of dominating him.
Yeah, it could be, but he has already dominated him. He's a broken toy, but by the moment
it's never enough.
The main character,
there's a big difference between breaking somebody's will and spirit and then just employing them. I mean, I've had a couple of jobs that have made me wonder if there's a difference, but I mean, I'm pretty sure there is one.
Retail, baby.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, but the important part here is that I think he was grooming him. I think Molag Bal was grooming Mannimarco for what happens next. And what happens next, chronologically, is the warp in the West.
That's where you're headed with this. Oh. So you think that... To
screw over... Mannimarco, as in Mannimarco the god, is Molag Bal's instrument to screw over Arche.
Exactly. Thank you.
Well, that's a really good thought, but let's expand on that a little bit for people who for some reason or another haven't played Oblivion. What the fuck is wrong with you? And so Mannimarco returns during chronologically speaking, Mannimarco's next return is, I think he messes around a little bit with Venus Galerian, according to UESP, but yes. the most noteworthy return is that he comes back during the Warp of the West, which is the plot of Daggerfall.
Yeah.
What's interesting about the Warp in the West is that it kind of looks like, and you guys can jump on top of me if I'm wrong about that, but there are 8 different endings? Six different endings. And it kind of looks like Bethesda, thanks very much to Kirkbride's whole wibbly-wobbly timey-wimey thing, decided that everybody got what they wanted all at the same time.
Yeah, there were like 50-something city-states in the the Iliac Bay region, all condensed into like 7, and suddenly
4.
Was it 4?
Yeah,
Mannimarco's a god
Wayrest,
now.
Sentinel and Orsinium.
Yeah, Mannimarco's a god.
Orsinium's a thing thanks to Gortwog.
Yeah. Tiber Septim stomping around in a giant stompy robot, and
this giant Gundam.
Yeah, his huge Gundam. And
what he achieves in the Warp in the West, or during the Warp of the West and after it, is that he becomes the thorn in the side of Arche, the actual god.
Yeah, because Mannimarco's, I don't know, what do you want to call it, essence? He's a lich, so he's kind of he's kind of walking essence no matter what. He doesn't really have a body. So the idea is that what happened is what had happened was Mannimarco became something that they refer to as the Necromancer's Moon or the Revenant, and it's kind of a interesting thought experiment to wonder whether or not, first off, whether or not it's an actual thing or not. Which, I mean, the events in Oblivion with the worm cult lead you to believe that there's definitely a event of some kind happening with the Necromancer's Moon, but the more interesting idea to me is it actually a moon? Because if it's a moon, then we have connections to Lorcan and other Daedric princes,
it's
and I can go crazy about that.
It's a moon orbiting Arche, not orbiting
Yes.
Well,
it's a plane.
Is it orbiting Arche? Because it is the
Yes.
obscure Arche.
Yes.
It orbits Arche.
Because the idea, the whole idea is that so in Oblivion, to make black soul gems, every certain number of days you get that black light that comes down.
Exactly.
Right.
And
when
that's
the
because
eclipse happens,
the moon is eclipsing Arche.
when the eclipse happens, you subvert the power of Arche and the cycle. We have to touch on Arche here being the lord of the cycle or the keeper of the cycle, and that will throw us. Or if if I get my way, I will go all the way back to Lig and discuss the arcane and Arche and what all that means. But just to try and stay on topic, I'll say that Arche is the enemy of mortals. If you view him from an illuminated mortal's point of view, one like Mannimarco, as in he grows his metaphysical understanding of the universe around him. It grows from just wanting to become more powerful and replace the god of schemes to becoming a god of his own and subverting a whole entire realm of influence from under Arche. And then it becomes even more important and interesting when he starts to subvert the ideal master's sort of carved piece of heaven, which is the souls and the soul dealing. So he's snipping bits by bits from here and there, and every bit he takes, he becomes a little bit more. And here, I like to think that he's the, let's say, the better Talos in a way.
Mark that off your.
Was that
bingo card?
Do you mean better as in more effective?
Yes, more efficient, more effective, not better as in good or bad.
Yeah, not
I got that, but I'm still just mulling that thought in my head.
Mm-hmm.
It's also technically purer, if you want to put it that way, because Mannimarco is an Altmer, as opposed to a Breton or something else entirely.
Well,
so closer to the way things should be if you take the Moorish view.
I don't really like the first grade level myth understanding or mythology understanding. I view that the mortal characters, once they start understanding the gradients of the wheel and the importance of the levels of importance and whatnot, that sort of racial issues, it just goes away because it's not important. The cattle, it defines the lowest gradient. It defines the people who are the lunar currency, but it doesn't define the higher gradient illuminated ones.
So one of the questions that I had written down for this cast, which I guess we sort of need to start evaluating, is why do people in the Elder Scrolls universe want to become gods? We have Tiber Septim, we have Mannimarco, we have I just had him, Mankar Cameron.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Mankar Cameron is a whole.
Yeah.
We might need
saying,
an entire cast.
this is something that
I think we have, and we could do another one.
Yes, it's once been done.
Yeah. Why do
anyway,
people want to
Felix,
become gods?
man,
Dude, it's geez, like you got a list? How long you got? There's like, I mean, in a very sort of like lighthearted way, Tamriel fucking sucks to be in. All right, that's a really shitty place to live, and
yeah,
an escape of any kind is preference.
There's no DoorDash.
Yeah, no DoorDash. No DoorDash. Can you imagine?
Okay, here's the thing, right? This is good. So then again, to reiterate, I just want to again reiterate is why do we want to become gods is to escape the cycle. So what exactly is Mannimarco escaping by being a necromancer, obscuring the power of RK, and having a cult devoted to him.
I mean, perhaps he thinks the cycle is. I mean, because let's look at this from a Buddhist perspective, because that's where this whole thing, transcending the cycle through enlightenment, that kind of thing. I mean, it could boil down to an interpretation of how to transcend that cycle. So for Mannimarco, it could very well be, well, the cycle moves when we transition from life to death. So how about we just eliminate that transition?
Don't die.
Yeah, just live forever, and now you're not part of the cycle anymore. Which, from our omniscient perspective, is a flawed reasoning. But
but you work with the info you have.
Yeah.
I would actually something I wanted to. I'm sorry. Something I wanted to point out was actually that the idea that, like, I actually, before I do that, let me ask, do we have any statement that definitively says that the Necromancer's moon orbits RK? I know it eclipses it, but does it orbit RK?
I believe so.
Yeah. I forgot.
I am 100% sure it does.
Okay.
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 Because
That's good enough.
It's said in it's said in the lore book, and I need to remember which. It might just be called the Necromancer's moon.
There's a Necromancer's moon, but it doesn't state specifically that it orbits RK.
Well, I would inject my own personal theory here and say that whatever the Necromancer moon orbits is whatever Mannimarco was most obsessed with. And if it was RK, then it orbits RK, and his motivation was revenge on RK.
I would build off of that and say that it wouldn't be exactly the obsession, but the first step or the second step, as in the first
to get
step.
to his obsession. Yeah, that would work too.
I was going to say, well,
what's RK? Who is RK, and what's RK's role within the Orbis?
RK's a little bitch, is what's up.
RK is supposed to monitor the transition from mortality to death, from people, basically the movement of souls from Mundus back into Aetherius, and theoretically,
RK is the shopkeeper of lunar currency.
Well, exactly. He is. You could look at him that way. You could also look at him as Charon, as an entity that escorts souls to the realm of the dead.
The priests of the Chantry would tell.
But people. Sorry, I was just trying to tie in RK as shopkeeper as to why RK as God, as to why that story all works. But anyway,
the thing is, it's Michael Kirkbride says, RK, what's RK? He replies, I don't know, I'm trying to say this from memory, lies from a previous era or previous age.
That was talking about the origin of RK. That was talking about him once being a mortal shopkeeper.
Yeah, and he was elevated to godhood by Mara, if I recall correctly.
His area manager, if I recall correctly. Yeah.
That's the docile PG-13 version, yes.
Yeah, and so the idea is that if the Necromancer's moon is orbiting RK, then I would argue that being able to interrupt the transition of souls, it was Mannimarco's goal in becoming the Necromancer's moon, but I would also argue that he could still do the same thing if he wasn't orbiting RK. Because you can obscure RK without orbiting it.
He needs. This is my own interpretation. There's hints here and there, but it's my own. So, I would say that Mannimarco was attempting and is still attempting to break the monopoly on lunar currency.
Yeah, sure. In the respect that it's been going entirely to Daedra and arguably Aedra.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
So RK would be the keeper of the cycle for the Daedra. The Daedra have each found their way to subvert that by making mortals pray to them, basically, and believe in them willingly. And then you've got Mannimarco, who's climbing up the ladder of importance bit by bit, guided by whatever Molag Bal did to him or told him, as Molag Bal did to Vivek, I'd say that his end goal would be to completely and utterly break the order of creation as it is. No Aedra, no Daedra, back to basics. Mortals aren't supposed to be fuel, so on and so forth. So his own definition of necromancy is like, it's weird. It's different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Different from what?
Different from the usual understanding of necromancy in any high fantasy setting.
In the Elder Scrolls, the typical necromancy is grab an empty husk and shove any kind of energy you can into it to animate it in some semblance of life.
Yes, defile the corpses, defile the souls, whatever. But here, Mannimarco makes it sound like he is rebelling against something by practicing necromancy or dark magic, as sometimes he calls it, and his followers call it.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, it's an act of rebellion against the ruling kings.
I think, well, I'm not sure that it's necessarily against the ruling kings. I'd almost say that it could be more pedestrian than that. It just could potentially be that he's got a grudge against the Sigic Order for shutting him down all those years ago.
And the Mage's Order outlawing necromancy.
That would deny him growth. That would deny a character who is gaining importance in mythological gradients. It will deny him growth. It would make him a very basic evil dude. And we all know that's not how the Elder Scrolls works.
And if by obscuring Arche and bringing the Necromancer's Moon into prominence allows the creation of black soul gems, does that mean that Mannimarco is in some way gaining lunar currency at that point?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's it, yeah.
So bit by bit, he's subverting spheres of particular gods and making them his own, one by one.
He's becoming a Daedra by the long way, you know? I mean,
I would say that he wouldn't even be aiming to be a Daedra. I would think that he is attempting a different sort. It's almost like very specific chrysoproeia. What's the word? He's almost inventing a new way to heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, a new walking way. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, no one says there's a limit to how many.
I always figured that he kind of piggybacked off Numidium and used Numidium's disruption of reality as a method.
Okay, so which walking way is the Dragon Break?
I don't think the Dragon Break is.
I don't think it's a walking way. No.
No, but Numidium
is. Check to see if I have one.
Yeah, we have had a suggestion from David the Ginger that it's something to do with mythopoeia or that sort of thing, but I don't think it's so because it's not manipulating myth as such. There wasn't anything to do with that.
I mean, my thought was always that by using the totem or by possessing the totem, you're taking control away from Numidium, and so in that way, you cannot be denied, and so you're, it's the same reason, you know, that AE means I am. It's an assertion of divinity.
Right,
so just by controlling Numidium, that in and of itself is a path to divinity.
I
would if I can interject here, my understanding of how one achieves godhood by the Numidium is how one is seen in its eyes, because if memory serves me correctly, the reason why you have the Talos Oversoul and Talos became a god is because the Numidium looked at Tiber Septim, Izmir, and Zurin Arctis and said, it's the same fucking thing, and then boom, there's like that one
I will-
new 3-in-1 entity. That was how the godhood happened.
I will disagree there, because we know exactly how Talos became Talos, and that's basically by talking their way to heaven, by actively subverting their people. One would do something, and to the general public, it would be the other. As in, Tiber would do, not Tiber, Shalti, Earlybeard will do something, and then the pedestrian folk would know that Wolfhearth did it, and Wolfhearth will do something, and then it will be granted to Zurin. It was a whole mess of who did what, and eventually
Right.
people started to think that they are the same person. It wasn't Numidium that made Talos, it was the talky way into heaven that made Talos.
The Prolix Tower.
Like, I can see where you're coming from, but for me, it's still that final moment with the creation of the Mantella that perhaps it's like the Prolix Tower leads up to that, but that moment with the Mantella is what finally seals the deal, which is part of why I forget exactly how it happens in Daggerfall because I never played it. But again, by using the Numidium, it causes so many of the different problems and breaks time that the Jills have to stitch it back together. Hence why we get the multiple endings that are all correct. So that's how I kind of view the Numidium as a way to godhood, is you have to kind of break shit and then put it back together. And
I was taking it as manipulating a dragon break as to what it was doing. It was because if you want to go to the tribunal as well, that's essentially what the tribunal do, because they Vivek at least takes advantage of the red moment and says, right, Vivek the mortal is now Vec the god. And also there's Mannimarco's words from Where Were You When the Dragon Broke, that's saying that the Selectives showed us the universal truth, as above, so below. Those or words to that effect, which makes me think that he's aware of dragon breaks as a potential route to divinity.
That's possible, yeah.
That was my takeaway. There's also part of me that's wondering whether the soul burst was not enough for him. That you can almost argue that the soul burst was an attempt to create another one. That the soul burst was an attempt to create a dragon break, because it's futzing enough with the Amulet of Kings that it could have done that. I mean, it kickstarts the plane meld, sure, but I'd imagine that if Mannimarco could have created a dragon break at that point, then because he's seen what happened with the Selectives, he could have almost done it the short route at that point. Does that make sense?
In a way, a plane meld is the synonym of a dragon break, only one is temporal, the other is spatial.
I like that.
I do like that. I like that a lot,
so
actually.
Perhaps that he learned of how to make a plane meld first, and then he learns how to make use of a dragon break. As in, there's always, I like to think that there's growth.
Yeah.
If you give your antagonist every trick in the book from the get-go, then it becomes really, really a stale story. And what we're doing here is almost trying to figure out what the developers and the story writers have established before giving us or presenting us with a final product. So it's a bit difficult.
Yeah. No, and there's also part of me that wants to make just go on that whole thing of growth and just repeat. There's also part of me that thinks that is there almost enough kind of a continued narrative throughout ESO to make Vanis Galerian versus Mannimarco a thing, just a recurring, just a constant battle between those two. Through
they were friends at some point.
Yeah, in the Sigil Quarter, they were friends.
Yeah,
exactly.
it's a fairly typical story.
Went to college
but,
together.
Goddamn Sijic order.
They were pretty close buddies, and Venice Galerian was disheartened when he discovered, or not discovered actually, Mannimarco invited him to join him in attempting to become a little bit more than what they are, to get more power, to become more illuminated. And Venice Galerian was just appalled by his friend who he thought he knew and his methods. And that's where it's not rivalry, it's a full-blown war
Conflict.
at that point between them. So yeah, I like the way you brought that up.
Yeah, and because that also kind of sets the path for the Mages Guild. So Mannimarco has also been a huge influence on Mages Guild practices, and also the formation of the guild. Because if I remember rightly, one of the things that Venice complained about was that the Sijic Order did nothing to stop Mannimarco. He was going around mucking around with the world, and the Order did pretty much nothing to stop him influencing kings, to stop the corruption of the rights of Arche, etc. So the Mages Guild was almost the anti-Mannimarco club, in some way of putting it. Venus is it reminds me a bit of the Magic the Gathering artifact cycle fiction, that you've essentially got two incredibly powerful mages duking it out at an institutional level with each other, just both throwing kind of world-shaping organizations and stuff at each other because of a personal rivalry. I mean, I might be just transplanting my understanding there onto Mannimarco and Galerian, but I see parallels.
When you said the anti-Mannimarco club, I just imagined Venice Galerian and like 3 other mages building like a blanket fort and sticking like no Mannimarcos allowed on there.
Yes.
Your authority is not recognized in Club Kick-Ass.
But you let Mannimarcos Jones in. No, it says no Mannimarcos. We're allowed to have one.
Well, we have one, yeah.
Fun little side note before I go into something about the Mages Guild and everything. But Mannimarco's name is just a reorganization of the old German tribe from Roman times called the Marcomanni. That's really all it is.
Hmm.
Yeah, which is why if you ever see me mention other necromancers in my writings, they just have other old Germanic tribe names that I've just rearranged.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But that brings me to like the Mages Guild and stuff, which is does this then mean that the Mages Guild, their main purpose is to fight Mannimarco, keep him at bay, keep him contained, insert your local kind of favorite entertainment or media TV series or something like that, some sort of good analog for you got to keep the evil down and in secret. So then what does this mean for the 4th era when the Mages Guild has split? Does this mean Mannimarco kind of wins, or we can expect to see him in Test 6 now?
It could. I mean, you can get black soul gems pretty damn easily in Skyrim. So.
Yeah, there's. I almost want to argue against that now, because I was thinking, hang on, there's a whole bunch of reasons for the foundations of the Mages Guild, and the way that it gets put across in ESO for the proliferation of soul trapping, because the Mages Guild has been around since the Potentates.
Yeah.
So they've had a good few centuries to clamp down on the use of soul gems.
Well, but
and soul trapping before the events of the game.
It could just be that the formation of the Mages Guild was for whatever reason that it was, but now it's become like about stopping Mannimarco. Like that's like their big thing now. Like, you know, when you join the Mages Guild, you pay your dues for years and years and years, and everything's fine. You think everything's going really great, and then one year you get pulled into a dark corner by a bunch of hooded priests, and they say, okay, the real reason why we're doing things here Don't fucking let this out.
Quick,
But there's
all
this
of a sudden they're
moon.
wearing white robes with white hoods and they take you outside and
The great.
quick,
gonna learn you
quick
today, boy.
sidebar. Quick sidebar.
No, I don't think that's what I was thinking about.
I'm using what's happening in chat right now to mark off Harry Potter in the Selectives bingo.
That's fair.
So.
It's technically on the
What?
stream, so that's
No,
allowed.
Let me see this.
Yeah. Just to fill things in for those of you listening on the audio, chat is saying that you can compare Venus Galerian and Mannimarco to Dumbledore and Grindelwald.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which I don't know. I don't know whether there was an implied relationship that would happen in there, because
Yeah, I don't know. Which one would be played by Johnny Depp? Dog.
Now there's a question. But yeah, and why is Mannimarco is kind of called the first Lich as well? Is he the one that started off the whole path to Lichdom as a thing for people to achieve?
Oh, good question.
Well, I mean,
I'm fairly certain there were ones before him. Yeah,
Aliads predate him, and there are plenty of Aliad Liches. I mean, whether or not we accept the idea that the ideal masters are Aliad flesh sculptors transcended.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is a good segue into a question I wanted to pose: is why is it that when we see a Lich in say Oblivion or even ESO,
Is that a Lich?
yeah, they're skeletal zombie looking mages effectively.
Don't look anything like Mannimarco.
Yeah, but then Mannimarco, he's got all of his youth and L'Oreal Revenant kind of thing going on.
Which they would go on to make us wonder about: is it really Liches that we see, or are they just
see, and
failed mages and didn't know how to?
I mean, to my mind, I think there is kind of a basic Lich recipe, like
Oh, there's many.
Well, yeah. I mean, the basic one's the one that everyone knows about. So
split your soul up into chunks, put them into things.
Yeah, take some flour,
one pound of flour, 1 pound of butter. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
One phylactery. And so then
bake it 450 degrees until golden brown and delicious.
But in my opinion, I think that Mannimarco found another method that's more efficient and
instant lichdom.
And so once he figured that out and he
condensed
succeeded,
lichdom. Lichdom in a can.
Why would he ever share that with anyone?
Well, that's a good question.
Here's the thing. There's an actual book, in-game book. I forget what it's called, but it's got either the Black Revenant or Mannimarco or the First Lich in it. And
I am a Lich, and so can you.
The God of Worms, Mannimarco, he chastises his followers for being too narrow-minded and actually not knowing what necromancy and animancy is all about. the actual manipulation of souls and how to become more as he has.
Yeah, tell him about chat.
Dr. Nightstone made a really good point. Vistari in ESO, she is also a Lich, but she also has her mortal appearance. So I mean, I hesitate to hand wave and say, oh, that's a glamour, that's illusion.
Well, Wanted Gemini points out that Mannimarco was really interested in the Vestige, which the Vestige, as you know, has no soul. So maybe he was interested in the Vestige because he could use the Vestige to study animation of a body without a soul.
Okay, I actually have some serious thoughts on some of this stuff. Because I've thought about this, and for those who have read between the lines in the coda that I wrote, Aria, you might see how the ending is not really actually a good ending. But I just first want to get a joke out of the way, which we're talking about glamour and everything. So it's maybe he's born with it. Maybe it's Mannimarco.
Maybe.
Oh,
Thank you.
Just,
all right, that was a good one. I'll give you that one.
Mannimarco glamour memes just need to be a thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, serious point.
Yeah, the actual serious points. So spoiler alert for those who haven't read Aria, please mute for the next like 5 or 10 seconds or so. But really what happens is when the character and several other like Yokudan mages, I guess you can call them, raise Yokuda from the depths in order to lift it into space is technically an act of necromancy, which is
Bingo.
really taboo for the red guys.
I got bingo.
Post the link in chat.
Yokuda was the last one for me.
Oh, okay, there we go. Yay, he got bingo. All right, now Venmo me the money for letting you win bingo. But the reason why is because I had actually been thinking about necromancy and just talking to some people in the community and thinking about Mannimarco and the Necromancer's Moon, and I thought, well, fuck, why can't I just have a character do that too? And that's what this character does. And that did get me thinking about what is it that actually makes necromancy tick. And I started to come up, and I could be wrong here, but part of my idea is that it also has to do with memory as a concept, because it's tied. So the memory of this person or the shape or their form or their soul that you have now ripped away or taken apart from the greater whole. So,
I'm sorry, did I interrupt you?
Oh no, I was pretty much done. Like it's just that's sort of how I started to view how and what makes necromancy tick, and part of why I think also now that I'm thinking about it, Mannimarco was so interested in the vestige, because if you don't have a soul, then there can be no memory, which means you are apart and separate from memory, which gives you a weird kind of freedom.
Well, okay, now
I could be wrong. I totally admit.
Well, one of the things that I spent some time, more than I should have, speculating about in my head was the idea of what, like, so if a soul is intrinsically just magicka that inhabits a body and animates it, which we know that it is because you can literally animate a body with magicka. You don't need a soul to do it. What's the difference between what's the difference between the magicka that animates a body and a soul that animates a body? And the answer that came to me was worked in two directions. The first one, lore-wise, it's memory. It's the imprinting of memory on soul energy. And the second one was what was gamey-wamey, which was experience points, the most valuable thing you can have in an Elder Scrolls game.
The AI,
levels.
AE, the AE and the animus. The soul is usually two parts. So what you stated as the memory, it could be thought of as the AE. And then you've got the actual soul soup, let's say, that you get from Magnus, which is the animus. Anyways, we've been a little bit for quite a while, so I'm gonna have to head out. It's been great. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you for being
good to
here.
have you.
Yeah. It was wonderful.
Hopefully
come
next
back.
time I'll come disrupt your chat a little bit.
Why didn't you join me for the Red Guard cast?
Yeah.
I was quite busy. Sorry. All right. I'll catch you guys another time.
We'll see you again, man.
Right.
Catch you later.
See ya.
Peace
Thanks,
out,
guys.
Yeah, that's that whole notion of how the soul works, though. I'm not sure because Lichdom is essentially soul trapping yourself. and then possessing a body and so on. There's something to do with the process of how magicka interact, or how the soul interacts with the body, and how magicka, distinct from the soul, interacts with the body.
Yeah, I would say
to make it a regenerative process, to make it part of the whole thing.
That's kind of my, like, when I say that magicka can animate a body, that's what I mean by that is that you can literally make a body stand up and walk around with magicka. The reason why human, like, or more conscious mortals have souls is because the difference between the only difference between a zombie, an animated corpse, and a living human being is memory, is what we call the soul, which is memory imprinted magicka. So when the reason why the vestige is so unusual is because, unlike other soul shriven who have had their memories wiped out and are basically mindless walking zombies, they're just not rotting because they're not dead yet, the vestige is still able to function in some way, but unless you're starting off in one of the expansions, in the original Elder Scrolls Online, without any expansions, when you started off, your consciousness arrived in your body as you literally stood up in your jail cell in Cold Harbor. You had no previous experience whatsoever. You had no memory whatsoever. So that was basically sort of like, the crux of my argument for also the intro to every Elder Scrolls game, is that you are animated at the beginning of the game, standing up, having absolutely no memory whatsoever.
And you're in a jail because you are the prisoner.
And you're in a jail because you're the prisoner, true, but,
I mean, we have had some, there's some snippets in Elsewhere that kind of help solidify the contents of the soul, which, I think there are few who would argue that the soul is comprised of AE, animus, and memory. And those are the three main parts, and they may bleed into each other.
Why is it always got to be three with the fucking Elder Scrolls? God dang.
Because 3 is important.
Yeah, it's the magic number. I know.
Yeah. But with a Lich, I would imagine that it's getting rid of the animus and replacing that with pure magicka. And so we get the AE and the memory. So the person is there, their memories and experiences are there, and the things that make them an individual. But then they are using their magical ability, which you could say comes from the animus of their former body, and they're using that to fuel their new Lich form, instead of animus. So it's like a refined animus, in a manner of speaking. The same way you can take sugarcane and refine it into rum.
David the Ginger feels like he's playing Lost the video game. I'm assuming David the Ginger was not involved in the Amaranth Hunt, which was literally Lost the video game.
Yeah.
We even had a set of numbers that we were fucking sweating. It was
that was fun.
Yeah.
I don't think I was there for that one.
No, me neither.
But
it was crazy.
I dipped in and out. It was kind of I would submit one or two responses, and wake up the next morning, and by that time there'd been a whole day of responses in the US, so I couldn't keep up.
Right. Yeah. I can understand that. Yeah.
One thing I do want to mention to address the Gingers.
Good doc.
to address the Gingers issue of feeling like he's playing Lost the video game is one of the things that makes some subjects in Elder Scrolls, like Mannimarco, so tricky to navigate, is because you can't talk about it without talking about other things. Like, of course, we're talking about souls and other gods in Daedra because it's relevant to Mannimarco and his journey and his obstacles, right? So it's I get it. It's a lot to try and follow, but I'd hope that after several streams, people kind of figure out, oh, it's all connected. Wow. And it's kind of this big revelation, hopefully. But for what it's worth, it took me ages to start to figure even just the broad strokes of Elder Scrolls lore, especially the metaphysical. I'm still not people like Chris here writing essays and master's theses about the fucking 36 sermons there. So it takes time, but it's worth it to get the big picture.
Yeah, it's I think somewhere out there you can actually get zip files of the Amaranth Hunt because I think they vanished off of the internet.
They are actually entirely complete on archive.org.
Oh, okay. There you go.
I have links to them all on the Written Uncertainty website. If you head to writtenuncertainty.com, hit the Lore Essays and Resources tab.
Nice self-insert there. I like it.
Yeah, well, really well done. Well done.
Absolutely.
Yeah, excellent
if you
job.
just hit that and then you can scroll down to the whole thing. It's got all 12 threads and the summary.
Wow.
And the summary.
So,
okay. Yeah.
If you want to get lost, it's there.
If you look really, really carefully, you can actually find the point where me and Tosak solve it really early on, and then go, nah, that's not right, and then keep going. and completely fucking move right past the solution. It was just something else.
Yeah, to bring it back on topic though, is there anything else we need to mention or discuss about Mannimarco? Because I feel like we've talked about everything.
We've covered a lot of it. I mean, I don't know how much we talked about the idea of whether the Mannimarco we see in Oblivion is truly Mannimarco, whether it's a doppelganger, whether it's I mean, but there's not a whole lot to really talk about. I basically just said it.
My theory of how to solve that one is that because the warp in the west is a dragon break and all possible things happen, Mannimarco both ascends and doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, if he didn't, then he'd be well fucking dead, don't you think? Oh, no, wait, he's an Altmer. He could stay. No, you're right. Yeah.
He's an Altmer and he's a Lich.
And he's a Lich, The Altmer's the lesser part of that.
Yeah. No, but he could absolutely have just somehow stuck around and been alive the whole time. Yeah, it is odd that nobody really goes, well, how the hell are you still here? Yeah. So...
Yeah, I mean,
unless Mannimarco is a title within the Worm Cult at this point.
Well,
like
I mean, everybody rolls their eyes when he comes around again. Like, oh, this dusty motherfucker. No, I actually think I would not be at all surprised if there was actually the intention at some point or another to do a quest that explains the Worm Cult bringing Mannimarco physically to life. You know,
or maybe he was summoned by the Worm Cult.
Oh, sure, absolutely. I mean, if you can be a moon, you can be summoned. I mean, fucking why? Like, I'm not going to tell you what you can and can't do.
And not being a Daedra, he wouldn't necessarily be, withheld by the Cold Harbor Compact or
that's a good point.
Or the Dragonfires. So, I mean, there's that.
Maybe Mannimarco is an avatar of Mannimarco. It's Mannimarco, son of Mannimarco.
Yeah, something like that. Ooh.
He just changes bodies the way one changes batteries. Like
he's he could be more of a like a oh god, I'm trying to think of a good example, but a spirit that can inhabit a body via possession.
There's a word for those.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because you think about so in ESO, no, Poltergeist is
that throws things around your house. No.
Well, in ESO, there's a part where Azura kind of inhabits the body of a couple women and talks to you through them. I mean, same.
And Boethia in Skyrim, you bring her sacrifice and then she occupies the body.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's just a different kind of method for that. So,
and if he became the Necromancer's moon, he's basically a Daedra. Like,
I mean, in every way that counts categorically, I suppose, because he didn't participate in the creation of Mundus. So,
well, in that case, does that make Lorcan a Daedra?
Got in on a technicality.
I mean, Lorcan, I think, is both Daedra and Daedra because he is part of the world. That he gave up his heart to build Mundus, and so in that way,
but the word the word means our ancestors, and the Mer do not consider Lorcan an ancestor. So
Well, but they worship a lot of things that aren't their ancestors, so they can suck it.
yeah.
Also, and so long as we're now going down this road, Lorcan is not the missing god, because that motherfucker is everywhere.
He is, though.
All over the place.
He's the dead god. He's not the missing god. He's the dead god. He's like the drowned in Game of Thrones. Like, what is dead may never die. Like that's him.
He's kind of the deity equivalent of yeah. He wants to go outside real bad. Yeah, see, look at his ears. He wants to go for a walk.
You are a bad man.
Oh no. He knows it's time
Oh
for
my
walkies.
goodness.
And I think on that note, we should end this.
Yeah, go get that dog what he needs.
We peek over dog ears. Dog ears is like that. That's it. Video peaked.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, okay. So we're gonna get back onto Daedra in the next session.
So yeah, who is that? Clavicus Vile.
Because we did Clavicus.
D's? Wait.
Would it be Hermaeus Mora next?
I think it's Hermaeus Mora. Hold on.
Yes, it's Hermaeus Mora.
I think. Wait.
Score 1 for the Guar.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I can do alphabet.
I should hope so. You're an English teacher.
Yeah.
Hermaeus Mora, and then it's Hircine. Oh boy.
That's gonna be fun.
Then we get to argue about whether or not we're gonna do Jiggalag or not.
I mean, I say yes, but you should do that for like an April.
Well, I mean,
there's
there's not enough Jiggalag information that's separate from Sheogorath. So
Yeah, there's really not. We might as well just do them at the same time.
May as well just do him as a facet of Sheogorath.
Yeah.
Okay.
That works.
So
Yes.
will we get an Alduin discussion in the future? That's a really good idea. Yeah.
I would dig that.
Yeah, we can do an Alduin cast. Absolutely. I don't know why we haven't yet. Sure.
Yeah, like I think at some point we should do all the sort of extras that we don't really talk about, like Magnus, Finaster, Trinoma.
I agree 100%, but in order to do all those extras, we have to actually write them down and think of them.
True.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll do that. And
we'll do that after the date.
Yeah. So thanks everybody for showing up, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Hopefully.
Unless there's another fucking the world fucking ends, which
in all likelihood.
I mean, the way things are going, it's that kind of year.
I mean, already there's locusts in China, so I mean,
there's human eating wasps in the United States. I mean,
Yep.
Ridiculous.
And in the meantime, join the Discord, as Dr. Nightstone is pointing out.
Yes, join the Discord. Thank you.
Community.
You can join my Discord too if you want.
Wave goodbye.
Bye.
everybody.
Bye. I'm gonna take my dog for a walk.